Okay, now to our hot topic. The U.S. Surgeon General has called for a warning about children's mental health on social media apps. So this morning, I'm joined by Dr. Brad Schwal from the Center for Integrative Counseling and Psychology to help us understand how to protect kids online. Good morning.
Good morning.
Great to see you.
Good to see you.
First of all, let's just talk about why the Surgeon General considers social media dangerous. What are the main things?
Right. So research is showing that such a high number of youth, of course, are on social media, showing that kids are on social media daily over 3.5 hours, which is very, very scary. And they're seeing a correlation between use over 3 hours and depression, issues with body image. So what the Surgeon General is saying is that we must research because we don't know, we can't prove that social media is safe. So we need to look at what the dangers are. And again, we're seeing that connection between mental health challenges and use of social media.
So I don't have a young kid anymore, but as a parent, it would be hard for me because on one hand, okay, if you limit the time your kid can spend, or you say you can't do that, well then do you risk the kid doing it behind your back? And would you be better to share it? So what are tips for parents?
Right.
What are your tips?
It is about communication and it's about teaching discernment. So the dangers are overuse, spending so much time on social media that kids aren't doing other activities. The other issue is exposure to problematic content, whether that be hate-related content,
right,
whether that be images that are not appropriate for youth. So the key is communication. The key is talking about limits. As kids get older, our limits sometimes we step back because we want to give freedom. However, by having a conversation and creating some structure, some parameters, and having conversations regularly, we're able to stay in tune with what's happening.
So when you say the key is communication, you can't communicate unless you're both on it. So we asked at the top of the show, what age should kids be allowed on social media? Are you suggesting that it may be better to allow them to get on social media at a younger age so that you can communicate about it?
Not at a younger age.
Well, what age do you think is appropriate?
Well, there's a lot of different variables. The research out says that on average people are thinking 8th grade, but it depends on the family's values, what the family is wanting, and it is okay for parents to set limits and to give structure. So we don't want to allow it at a younger age. We want to always have a conversation and have an open screen policy. An open screen policy is that we do know what's happening. The fact of the matter is that as our kids get older, we can't control their behavior, and that's why we go back to that communication. But by being as in tune as possible and setting those parameters and limits and consequences, we're better able to mitigate issues and avoid problems.
Okay, so let me ask you this question. You mentioned 8th grade. I can't imagine that a kid in 4th grade isn't, or 3rd grade or whatever, isn't on their friends' social media. So let's say that you've set a limit of 8th grade in your house, but your kid comes home, or somehow you find out that they were on their friends' social media, and they're in 2nd grade, 3rd grade, whatever. What is the best reaction of a parent at that point?
We are going ahead and anticipating that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so we're telling our kids that what to do, what to say in that situation, what will happen if they do go ahead and look. By giving them some tools, it helps the child to be able to to say no in a confident way, because we do want them to be able to say no, but we've got to show them, okay, here's how you do it, here's a way to get out of the situation, but always explaining why we have our rules and helping them understand not everybody has those same rules, but by putting in front of them the why and then following up, we're helping to protect them.
Let me ask you one more question. So I've dealt with this with an older child who still has some issues with, I don't know if you call it addiction to video and social media. I mean, we've all gone down the rabbit hole of TikTok. It's a rabbit hole. So what are signs you should look for that your child might be developing some issues with continued use.
Right. So when use extends, I mean, certainly we hear that 3 hours, but 3 hours does seem too much, right? But what we are helping our kids understand is there are algorithms. There's that continuous scrolling. We're helping them know what keeps them hooked in. And then I do believe we need to focus on what we want to happen. So we talk to our kids about what they can and need to be doing instead. There's plenty of activities still for youth that keeps them off their phones. Now, they might be at a church activity, they may be at a great event related to school, and they still might be on their screen, but the more we replace screen time with positive activities, we're giving them an alternative.
Okay, what I hear you saying basically is don't stick your head in the sand.
Right, absolutely.
That's good. All right.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Interesting. Okay, we asked you earlier at what age should kids be allowed to be on social media. And right now, if I can see, the majority of you say 15 to 17, which would be past 8th grade. That would be well into high school. So very interesting. We'll be right back.